Alrighty, welcome to week 17. If you're watching this video, it's because you were gone on either one or multiple days during this week, January 10th through 14th. This is for English 11, so let's get to it. So for my B day people, which is 5th and 6th period, I have you 3 days this week because of the rolling block schedule. So this is a glance at what we're going to be doing. On Monday and on Friday, we're going to be doing two different activities that are interactive. You need to be in class to do them. So if you're gone on either of those days or both of those days, just send me an email and we can talk about it. But it's going to be some interactive things this week. And then that is for my 4th period class. So some announcements. With the change of semester 1 to 2, I believe, if I'm understanding correctly how this works, I have student aids right now, and I don't think that they're going to roll over. I think you have to reapply if you want to be a student aid for second semester. So I would love to have student aids. Literally, I got so much done because of the student aids that I had semester 1, and I think it's so fun to get to see you more than once. So if you have the ability in your schedule to do that and you want to be a student aid for me, let me know because I would absolutely love that. The other thing to know, your golden lines and Patricia's advice, those 2 assignments that you were tracking as you were reading the book, you can turn those in whenever you want. It just has to be before the semester is over. So before January 28th. When you feel like it's ready, when you feel like you have enough, turn it in. But it is due before the semester is over. And then this is our warm-up writing prompt. So if you could change one thing about school, what would it be and why? It could be school is in your classes and academically what you're doing. It could be in terms of the social aspect. It could be something as unique as I don't think that we need lockers in the building. Anything that you want. If you could change one thing about school, what would it be? Okay, so we're going to take some notes. We are picking up where we left off with our argumentative, persuasive writing unit. Last week, we learned about what the difference is between argument and persuasion. We got some ground covered in terms of key definitions of terms. And this week, we're going to learn about evidence and how to track that. So we need to go beyond those 3-line syllogisms that I showed you about figuring out if an argument is just logical. So again, anytime you see underlines or blanks, you need to fill this in on your slides. Syllogisms help us determine an argument's validity, but evidence is what helps us determine if an argument is credible. So you do need both validity and credibility, and evidence is where that credibility comes into play. So let's talk about what exactly is evidence. Evidence is support. If you have a statement without any evidence, that's just an assertion, and an assertion is not strong enough on its own to be persuasive. So evidence, it provides support. It makes your argument airtight, it strengthens it, it backs it up. And it can look like many things, but to simplify it, I'm going to give you 5 different types. Facts, numbers, quotes, examples, analogies. We are going to take a look at these and kind of break them down and define them each and give you some examples. So for facts, they are actual and verifiable and indisputable, meaning they are just things that have been proven true throughout time, and until something happens, otherwise, they're just kind of facts of life. So all men are mortal, humans need water to survive, electrons have a negative charge, the sun sets in the west. These are things that have not been proven wrong otherwise, and so we can rely on them as sturdy, solid, factual evidence. For numbers, statistics, surveys, or any type of measurement. You're measuring something. If you see a number, it's going to fall into this category, even if it is spelled out. And I'll show you an example of that later. So Salem's population reached this number in 2018, 5 to 10% of people globally have dyslexia, and Stranger Things season 3 had 64 million views on Netflix. Anytime you see a number, that goes in that category. And then we have quotes, which sounds exactly like what it is. Quotes are the exact words or exact repetition of words, and it's not just from anybody. When you're using evidence, this is going to come from an expert, somebody who knows what they're talking about. So an example of a quote would be on page 32, Trevor Noah said, just because it's not happening doesn't mean it's not happening to you, or vice versa. There are no secrets about the world of nature. There are secrets about the thoughts and intentions of men. So anytime you see direct quotation marks, you should assume that it's coming from an expert in terms of argumentative writing. Next, we have examples. So these can come in 3 different formats. It can be an anecdote, which means a story. It could be an item in a text, so you're referring to something, or it can be some sort of result of an experiment. So a experiment result, we dropped 2 Mentos in the 2-liter bottle of Coke, foam went everywhere. Michael told the story of his time in prison. He said blank. That would be an anecdote. That's a story. We know she was bad-tempered because one time in chapter 2, she threw her dinner plate and blah, blah, blah. That's an item in a text. You're referring to something. And then lastly, we have analogies, which are very similar to metaphors in terms of you are comparing 2 things to show how they are alike or similar or related in some way. So you're comparing 2 things. So this is the activity, one of the activities this week that we will be doing in class. So if you're gone on this day, you can't really participate in it, but I'll explain it. So essentially, I'm going to give you some examples, and you're going to work together with a partner to identify which type of evidence belongs to which category. So this is the key. These are all the examples that we work with in class. I'll have these all cut out on a piece of paper, and then you put them in the correct boxes. But if you're not in person, then don't worry about it. Okay, so what I want you to do, we are now going to talk about the 3 different categories of persuasion: ethos, logos, and pathos. This is kind of like a tried and true thing in English language arts that you learn about at some point. And if you're like me, whenever it comes time to learn or talk about these things again, you kind of forget what they mean. So before we watch this video, I want you to tell me what you know or can remember about each. If you can define them, tell me. If you feel like you can't remember, say, I honestly just can't remember. Or if you've never heard of these things before, you can write that down as well. Okay, so what I want you to do is pause this video and watch this TED Ed video called How to Use Rhetoric to Get What You Want. And then after that, you are going to then tell me what you know about logos, pathos, and ethos based off of the video. So go ahead and do that. So with logos, we know that means you are using logic and reason. So what I'm going to do is, again, give us a little sneak peek into our advertising section of this unit. You're going to watch this advertisement from T-Mobile, and you're going to tell me what is the conclusion in their argument, how are they using logos, and what types of evidence out of those 5 that we talked about are you seeing. So pause this video and watch this one. Next, we have pathos, which is using empathy and emotions. You're trying to connect to somebody as a human being. Oftentimes, that will bring up things that are sentimental or nostalgic. So again, you're going to watch this video. This is a Chevy car commercial. Tell me, what is the conclusion in this argument? What are they trying to say? And how are they using pathos? What types of evidence are they using? And then lastly, we have ethos. Ethos is probably the one that's the most difficult to remember. It means you're looking at credibility. Is there an expert telling you information? Are they experienced? Are they educated? Are they trained? So you're going to tell me again, watching this Kaiser commercial, what is the conclusion in the argument? How does this commercial demonstrate that they're using ethos? And what types of evidence are they using? Okay, so I also want you to answer this question for me. I want you to tell me yes or no. Do you think one of these three things is better to use than another? Can you kind of rank them in any way, or do you think they're all equally important? So highlight yes or no and then tell me why. Explain either way, yes or no, what you think. So go ahead and do that. So, logos may get us to the truth, but the goal of authors and speakers is to convince the audience of the truth. Obviously, if you have an argument that is not logical, you can't really be super persuasive if the argument just isn't solid like that. But all three of these do unique things in trying to persuade your audience. So this activity also is going to be something that you do in class with people. So, but I still want you to take a look at this. So if you click on this link and you're not here the day that we do this, click on this link and you're going to read this. This is a article that's written in the form of a graphic novel or like a comic book. And you're going to, if you're in class, you're going to get together in groups. I'm going to assign a topic out of these 5, and you are going to get poster paper and try to outline and define what that topic is in different ways. So you're going to give me a definition for the word. You're going to find a synonym. You're going to use that word in a sentence, and then you're going to draw some sort of picture or symbol to represent that thing. So if you are not in class the day that we do this, you can still do this. You can pick one and then just kind of add on a slide and do that there. Okay, so I told you that I would be giving you time to work on your rough draft of Born a Crime because next week is the week that it is due. The rough draft is due, and I really, really need it to be due, ready to go on Tuesday because we're going to be doing revision stations. This is your final for this class for semester 1. That's why it's the final draft is due during finals week. So take some time, work on your Born a Crime essay, and if you have questions, let me know. Okay, this section is for B-Day people, 5th and 6th period, because I have you on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, you are going to be spending a little bit of time doing some independent reading with the book that you chose. And then you're going to be working on your paper. And then this would be Thursday and Friday. Some independent reading time. We're going to review what we learned this week so you can go back and look at your notes. So I asked you earlier if one of these things is more important than another or is better to use. And I'm going to see if you think that is still true, whatever answer you gave. So let's say in this hypothetical situation, I am trying to convince you to become a vegetarian. That's what I'm trying to do. And let's say I make these 3 arguments. All animals have feelings just as the human animal does. Factory farming, injections, and slaughtering are horrible and painful. You should quit eating meat. Or I could make the argument, the second one, the environment should be protected. Cattle raising uses enormous amounts of water, generates massive amounts of waste, and destroys rainforests in South America. So you should quit eating meat. Or I could tell you fat and cholesterol are health hazards and lead to heart problems. Beef and pork have lots of fat and cholesterol. You should quit eating meat. Out of those 3, I want you to tell me, for you personally, what one is the most convincing if I were to try to convince you to become a vegetarian, and I want you to tell me why. Why was that one more convincing than the other 2? So tell me in this box. Let's take a look at another hypothetical situation. Let's say you this time are trying to do the convincing and you're trying to get your grandma to get a smartphone. She doesn't have one. She either just has a landline or like a little flip phone. Let's say, here's grandma. You tell her, hey, grandma, if you got a smartphone, you could use TikTok. Oh my gosh, you got a smartphone now. Now you can use TikTok. Is that going to be a very convincing argument? No, it's not. If you said something like, hey, grandma, if you got a smartphone, you could FaceTime us. You have a smartphone, now you can FaceTime us or video chat or whatever. That is going to be a much better argument. And do you want to know why? Other than the fact that you're probably laughing at the first argument, it's a better argument because grandma could care less about TikTok. What she cares about is being able to see her grandchildren. So you have to, on this slide, I want you to try to come up with another argument for this conclusion. You have to know your audience. So I want you to tell me, why is it important to know your audience and what can you do to write for them specifically? Okay. This is an activity that you aren't like necessarily required to work with another person or a partner, but you can if you want to. You are going to be reading this article, which is linked in Canvas and in the slides. It's called The Search for Evidence, the Kobe Legacy. Should the NBA let high school players skip college? You're going to read it and you're going to highlight or make some sort of marking. Here's an example of a key code that you could use where you are going to identify um, types of evidence. And then after you go through and find the evidence that's being used, you're going to answer these questions. What type of evidence was used most in the article? And what type of evidence was the most convincing to you personally? And then you are going to have some time to work on your paper. So, as a reminder, Tuesday, because Monday we have no school, Tuesday, January 18th, you need to have your rough draft finished because we are going to be doing revision stations. If you need help, if you have questions, please let me know.